What's up, everyone? Welcome to Conk's Corner, the show where I'm raised by wolves. But I'm really reading Harry Potter every single day. I've been reading it since the beginning of the wonderful COVID times we've all had. To explore a book and to do something with people. I've not read the books before, so please don't spoil anything in the chat or in the comments. If you want to join our fun community, check out the Discord below. I also announce where I don't read on there. I also have my Patreon on there if you're interested in just supporting me in doing this. That's up to you. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. So last time, where do we leave off? Last time, they're about to go to their apparition tests. Harry has been fooling around trying to find out what Draco's doing, but he has not been pursuing, well, he has in a way, but not fully with all his passion and attention, pursuing the, what's it called? The mission that Dumbledore gave him of getting that info out of Slughorn. And also Hagrid's beloved spider, Aragog, died. And so he asked them to come to the funeral. I don't think they're going to go. I don't think they're going to go. Oh, did I do the voice? I did the voice
again. I'm sorry. I was... Well, that shows that the voice works. Oh, man. Okay, well, I was fiddling around with the voices, making those work in case I ever needed them, and I guess I left it untitled. So that's great. You're welcome. All right, so let's get started, shall we? And put on my glasses. Got the Mr. Sketch washables. They also smell like something. This one smells a little bit like apple or cherry or something like that. This one's... I think I lost my sense of smell from the last sniff. So let's see if the red works again. If not... Oh, it works. Great. It works. I wasn't joking then. I was not joking. My first live, and it happens to be another one where he forgets to turn off the voice effects. Welcome to your first live, Final Freak 16. Because, anyway, let's just start, shall we? So they're about to go and do their apparition tests, I'm assuming. Okay? They just said that Fenrir Greyback killed a kid. The bell rang overhead in the castle, and both Hermione and Ron jumped to their feet, looking terrified. "You'll do fine," Harry told them both, as they headed towards the entrance hall to meet the rest of the people taking their apparition test. "Good luck, and you too," said Hermione with a significant look, as Harry headed off to the dungeons. There were only 3 of them in potions that afternoon: Harry, Ernie, and Draco Malfoy. All too young to apparate just yet," said Slughorn genially. "Not turned 17 yet." They shook their heads. "Oh well," said Slughorn cheerfully. "As we're so few, we'll do something fun. I want you all to brew me up something amusing." "That sounds good, sir," said Ernie sycophantically, rubbing his hands together. Malfoy, on the other hand, did not crack a smile. "What do you mean, something amusing?" he said irritably. "Oh, surprise me," said Slughorn airily. Malfoy opened his copy of Advanced Potion Making with a sulky expression. It could not have been plainer that he thought this lesson was a waste of time. Undoubtedly, Harry thought, watching him over the top of his own book, Malfoy was begrudging the time he could otherwise be spending in the room of requirement. Was it his imagination? Oh, this music. Let's change up the music, shall we? Was it his imagination, or did Malfoy, like Tonks, look thinner? Certainly he looked paler. His skin still had that grayish tinge, probably because he so rarely saw daylight these days. But there was no air of smugness, or excitement, or superiority. None of the swagger that he had had on the Hogwarts Express. when he had boasted openly of the mission he had been given by Voldemort. There could be only one conclusion, in Harry's opinion. The mission, whatever it was going badly. Oh, Julia Giesbrecht, love you too. Thank you very much. Cheered by this thought, Harry skimmed through his copy of Advanced Potion Making and found a heavily corrected Half-Blood Prince's version of an elixir to induce euphoria, which seemed not only to meet Slughorn's instructions, but which might, Harry's heart leapt as the thought struck him, put Slughorn into such a good mood that he would be prepared to hand over that memory if Harry could persuade him to taste some. I just want to stop for a moment and tell you that one thing my acting teacher taught me about when you do lines or read scripts, there's things called egg lines. Maybe I've already said it before. Stuff like this, whereas but which might, and then what's it called? There's like a sentence in the middle of a sentence, so that's an egg sentence. And so you need to drop down that sentence to make it make sense when you're saying it out loud. Because if I said, but which might, Harry's heart leapt as the thought struck him, put Slughorn into such a good mood. You have to go, but which might, Harry's heart leapt as the thought struck him, put Slughorn into such a good mood that he would be prepared to hand over that memory if Harry could persuade him to taste some.
Well now, this looks absolutely wonderful,
said Slughorn, clapping his hands together an hour and a half later, as he stared down into the sunshine-yellow contents of Harry's cauldron.
Euphoria, I take it. What's that I smell? Oh, you've added just a sprig of peppermint, haven't you? Unorthodox, but what a stroke of inspiration, Harry. Of course, that would tend to counterbalance the occasional side effects of excessive singing and nose tweaking. I really don't know where you get these brainwaves, my boy. Unless...
Harry pushed the book, Half-Blood Prince's book, deeper into his bag with his foot.
It's just your mother's genes. Come on out, ya!
Yeah, maybe, said Harry, relieved. Oh, like that would make him laugh, Slughorn. Yeah. Ernie was looking rather grumpy, determined to outshine Harry. For once, he had most ravishly invented his own potion, wow, which had curdled and formed a kind of purple dumpling at the bottom of his cauldron. Malfoy was already packing up, sour-faced. Slughorn had pronounced his hiccuping solution merely
passable.
The bell rang, and both Ernie and Malfoy left at once. Sir, Harry began, but Slughorn immediately glanced over his shoulder. When he saw that the room was empty but for himself and Harry, he hurried away as fast as he could. Professor, don't you want to taste my called Harry desperately. But Slughorn had gone. Disappointed, Harry emptied the cauldron, packed up his things, left the dungeon, and walked slowly back upstairs to the common room. Ron and Hermione returned in the late afternoon. "Harry!" cried Hermione as she climbed through the porthole. "Harry, I passed!" "Well done," he said. And Ron, he just failed, whispered Hermione. "Oh no," as Ron came slouching into the room looking most morose. "It was really unlucky. A tiny thing. The examiner just spotted that he'd left half an eyebrow behind." "How did it go with Slughorn?" "Half an eyebrow? Eyebrow? So I wonder if Ron's just walking around with half an eyebrow. "No joy," said Harry as Ron joined them. "Bad luck, mate. You'll pass next time. We can take it together." "Yeah, suppose," said Ron grumpily. "Half an eyebrow? Like that matters." "I know," said Hermione soothingly. "It does seem really hard." They spent most of their dinner roundly abusing the apparition examiner, and Ron looked fractionally more cheerful by the time they set off back to the common room, now discussing the continuing problem of Slughorn and the memory.
John's voice is dry. He needs to moisten with some water.
Lois asked if you had to leave half an eyebrow behind, John, which half would you be most willing to lose? For sure, one of the outsides. I'd say, yeah, this one. I'd leave this one. This is my better side of face. Where are we? Set off back to the common room, now discussing the continuing problem of Slughorn and the memory. So, Harry, you're going to use the Felix Felicis, or what? Ron demanded. Yeah, I suppose I'd better, said Harry. I don't reckon I'll need all of it. Not 12 hours worth. Can't take all night. I'll just take a mouthful. 2 or 3 hours should do it. It's a great feeling when you take it, said Ron reminiscently. Like, you can't do anything wrong. What are you talking about? Said Hermione, laughing. You've never taken any. Yeah, but I thought I had, didn't I? Said Ron, as though explaining the obvious. Same difference, really. As they had only just seen Slughorn enter the great hall, and knew that he liked to take time over meals, they lingered for a while in the common room, the plan being that Harry should go to Slughorn's office once the teacher had had time to get back there. When the sun had sunk to the level of the treetops in the Forbidden Forest, they decided the moment had come, and after checking carefully that Neville, Dean, and Seamus were all in the common room, sneaked up to the boys' dormitory. What a tiny little fly. The fact that you drink out of a flower vase makes me laugh so hard. Well, you know what? It's just the right size for me. Although the cups are kind of small, you know? It's bigger than my head. It is. Ow. Ow, 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 ow. Okay, let's go. Well, no. Harry took out the rolled up socks at the bottom of his trunk and extracted the tiny gleaming bottle. Well, here goes, said Harry, and he raised the little bottle and took a carefully measured gulp. What does it feel like? Whispered Hermione. Harry did not answer for a moment. Then, slowly but surely, an exhilarating sense of infinite opportunity stole through him. He felt as though he could have done anything at all, and getting the memory from Slughorn seemed suddenly not only possible, but positively easy. He got to his feet, smiling, brimful of confidence. Excellent, he said. Really excellent. Right. I'm going down to Hagrid's. What? Said Ron and Hermione together, looking aghast. No, Harry, you've got to go and see Slughorn, remember? Said Hermione. No, said Harry confidently. I'm going to Hagrid's. I've got a good feeling about going to Hagrid's. You've got a good feeling about burying a giant spider? Asked Ron, looking stunned. Yeah, said Harry, pulling his invisibility cloak out of his bag. I feel like it's the place to be tonight. You know what I mean? No, said Ron and Hermione together, but looking positively alarmed now. This is Felix Felicis, I suppose, said Hermione anxiously, holding up the bottle to the light. You haven't got another little bottle full of, I don't know, essence of insanity? Suggested Ron, as Harry swung his cloak over his shoulders. Harry laughed, and Ron and Hermione, just a bit cuckoo now. Yeah! And Ron and Hermione looked even more alarmed. Trust me, he said. I know what I'm doing. Or at least, he strolled confidently to the door. Felix does. He pulled the invisibility cloak over his head and set off down the stairs, Ron and Hermione hurrying along behind him. At the foot of the stairs, Harry slid through the open door. Happy Tipsy Harry. So this is Harry after smoking weed. What were you doing up there with her? Shrieked Lavender Brown, staring right through Harry and Ron and Hermione and Hermione emerging together from the boys' dormitories. Harry heard Ron spluttering behind him, as he darted across the room away from them. Getting through the portrait hole was simple. As he approached it, Ginny and Dean came through it, and Harry was able to slip between them. As he did, he brushed accidentally against Ginny. Don't push me, please, Dean, he said, sounding annoyed. You're always doing that. I can get through perfectly well on my own. The portrait swung closed behind Harry, but not before he heard Dean make an angry retort. His feeling of elation increasing, Harry strode off through the castle. He did not have to creep along, for he met nobody on his way, but this did not surprise him in the slightest. This evening, he was the luckiest person at Hogwarts. I'm trying to think, like, what this essence of luck, how it exists in that world. Is this just this thing that floats around, and so when you drink it, there's like an essence that... Like, how does it work? How does luck work in this universe? I don't understand. He was the luckiest person at Hogwarts. I think it allows your mind to make connections you normally wouldn't. Oh, I like that, Alicia. Yeah, that makes... That's good. Yeah. It's magic, John. I realize it's magic, but even magic has its rules in this world. Magic has its rules. I want to know how that magic works. Magic! Magic! Okay, where were we? Why he knew that going to Hagrid's was the right thing to do, he had no idea. It was as though the potion was illuminating a few steps of the path at a time. He could not see the final... Oh, you know, this luck, it has more probably to do with knowing the future. Like, luck knows the future somehow, and so it guides the person's way. He could not see the final destination. He could not see where Slughorn came in. But he knew that he was going the right way to get that memory. When he reached the entrance hall, he saw that Filch had forgotten to lock the front door. Beaming, Harry threw it open and breathed in the smell of clean air and grass for a moment before walking down the steps into the dusk. It was when he reached the bottom step that it occurred to him how very pleasant it would be to pass the vegetable patch on his walk to Hagrid's. It was not strictly on the way, but it seemed clear to Harry that this was a whim on which he should act. So he directed his feet immediately towards the vegetable patch, where he was pleased, but not altogether surprised, to find Professor Slughorn in conversation with Professor Sprout. Harry looked behind a low stone wall, feeling at peace with the world and listening to their conversation. I just love it. He's so chipper. It's all magic until it's science, and potions are science. What's up, John? I'm from London. Been watching your channel for a while now, but it's my first time watching live. Welcome, Hadid. Welcome, Hadid. Well, happy you're here, and thanks for listening. We're all happy when a new person comes on. Okay, Slughorn.
I do thank you for taking the time, Pomona.
Slughorn was saying courteously.
Most authorities agree that they are at their most efficacious if picked at twilight.
Oh, I quite agree. No, Professor Sprout. Oh yeah, she's like this. Oh, I quite agree, said Professor Sprout warmly. That enough for you?
Plenty,
said Slughorn, who Harry saw was carrying an armful of leafy plants.
This should allow for a few leaves for each of my third years, and some to spare if anyone overstews them. Well, good evening to you, and many thanks again.
Professor Sprout headed off into the gathering darkness in the direction of her greenhouses, and Slughorn directed his steps to the spot where Harry stood, invisible. Seized with an immediate desire to reveal himself, Harry pulled off the cloak with a flourish. Good evening, Professor.
Merlin's beard, Harry! Oi! You made me jump,
said Slughorn, stopping dead in his tracks and looking wary.
How did you get out of the castle?
I think Filch must have forgotten to lock the doors, said Harry cheerfully, and was delighted to see Slughorn scowl.
I'll be reporting that man. He's more concerned about litter than proper security, if you ask me. But why are you out here, Harry?
Well, sir, it's Hagrid, said Harry, who knew that the right thing to do now was just to tell the truth. He's pretty upset. But you won't tell anyone, Professor. I don't want trouble for him. Slughorn's curiosity. Slughorn's curiosity was evidently roused. Well,
I can't promise that,
he said gruffly.
But I knew that Dumbledore trusts Hagrid to the hilt, so I'm sure he can't be up to anything very dreadful.
Well, it's this giant spider. He's had it for years. It lived in the forest. It could talk and everything.
I heard rumours that there were acromantula in the forest.
The forest, said Slughorn softly, looking over at the mass of black trees.
It's true, then?
Yes, said Harry. But this one, Aragog, the first one Hagrid ever got, it died last night. He's devastated. He wants company while he buries it, and I said I'd go.
Touching.
said Slughorn absent-mindedly, his large, droopy eyes fixed on the distant lights of Hagrid's cabin.
But acromantula venom is very valuable. The beast has only just died. It might not yet have dried out. Of course, I wouldn't want to do anything insensitive if Hagrid is upset, but if there were any way to procure some, I mean, it's almost impossible to get venom from an acromantula while it's alive.
Slughorn seemed to be talking more to himself than Harry now.
Seems an awful waste. An awful waste not to collect it. Might get 100 galleons a pint. To be frank, my salary's not large.
And now Harry saw clearly what was to be done. Well, he said with the most convincing hesitancy. Well, if you wanted to come, Professor, Hagrid would probably be really pleased. Give Aragog a better send-off, you know?
Yes, of course,
said Slughorn, his eyes now gleaming with enthusiasm.
I tell you what, Harry, I'll meet you down there with a bottle or two. We'll drink the poor beast's, well, not health, but we'll send it off in style. Anyway, once it's buried, and I'll change my tie. This one's a little exuberant for the occasion.
He bustled back into the castle, and Harry sped off to Hagrid's, delighted with himself.
Oh, you came,
croaked Hagrid when he opened the door and saw Harry emerging from the invisibility cloak in front of him. Yeah, Ron and Hermione couldn't, though, said Harry. I'm really sorry.
Oh, don't matter. They'd haven't touched you here, though, Harry.
Hagrid gave a great sob.
Oh!
He had made himself a black armband out of what looked like a rag dipped in boot polish, and his eyes were puffy, red, and swollen. He's just so in love with this spider. Harry patted him consolingly on the elbow, which was the highest point of Hagrid he could easily reach. Where are you burying him? He asked. The forest.
Blimey, no,
said Hagrid, wiping his streaming eyes on the bottom of his shirt.
The other spiders won't let me anywhere near their webs. Now Aragog's gone. Turns out it was only on his orders they didn't eat me. Can you believe that, Harry? Huh?
The honest answer was yes. Harry recalled with painful ease the scene when he and Ron had come face to face with the acromantula. They'd been quite clear that Aragog was the only thing that stopped them from eating Hagrid.
Oh, never been an area of the forest I couldn't go before, said Hagrid, shaking his head. It wasn't easy, getting Aragog's body out of there, I can tell you. Usually they're dead, see, but I wanted to give him a nice burial. Proper send-off.
He broke into sobs again, and Harry resumed the patting of his elbow, saying as he did so, for the potion seemed to indicate that it was the right thing to do, Professor Slughorn met me coming down here, Hagrid.
Not in trouble, are you?
Said Hagrid, looking up alarmed.
It shouldn't be out of the castle in the evening, I know. It's my fault.
No, when he heard what I was doing, he said he'd like to come and pay his last respects to Aragog too, said Harry. He's gone to change into something more suitable, I think, and he said he'd bring some bottles so he can drink to Aragog's memory.
Did he?
Said Hagrid, looking both astonished and touched.
That's right nice of him, that is. And not turning you in either. I've never really had a lot to do with Horace Slughorn before. I'm going to see old Aragog off, though, eh? Well, he'd have liked that. Aragog would.
Harry thought privately that what Aragog would have liked most about Slughorn was the ample amount of edible flesh he provided, but he merely moved to the rear window of Hagrid's hut, where he saw the rather horrible sight of the enormous dead spider lying on its back outside, its legs curled and tangled. Has anyone told John that acromantula rhymes tarantula? Acromantula? Well, it makes sense that it does rhyme. Thanks, Daphne. Are we Going to bury him here, Hagrid, in your garden?
Just beyond the pumpkin patch, I thought,
said Hagrid in a choked voice.
I've already dug the, grave. Just thought we'd say a few nice things over him. Happy memories,
His voice quivered and broke. There was a knock on the door, and he turned to answer it, blowing his nose on his great spotted handkerchief as he did so. Slughorn hurried over the threshold, several bottles in his arm, wearing a somber black cravat.
Oh, Hagrid, he said. Hagrid,
he said in a deep, grave voice.
So very sorry to hear of your loss. Oh, that's very nice of you,
said Hagrid.
Thanks a lot. And thanks for not giving Harry detention either. Wouldn't have dreamed of it,
said Slughorn.
Sad night. Oh, sad night. Where is the poor creature? Out here,
said Hagrid in a shaky voice.
Shall we do it then?
The three of them stepped out into the back garden. The moon was glistening palely through the trees, and its rays mingled with the light spilled from Hagrid's window to illuminate Aragog's body, lying on the edge of a massive pit, beside a 10-foot-high mound of freshly dug earth. There are owls outside my window, but I think they're broken because they don't sound like John's owls. Oh, they probably are. Healthy owls, they have a healthy voice.
Magnificent,
said Slughorn, approaching the spider's head, where 8 milky eyes stared blankly at the sky and 2 huge curved pincers shone motionless in the moonlight. Harry thought he heard the tinkle of bottles as Slughorn bent over the pincers, apparently examining the enormous hairy head.
It's not everyone appreciates how beautiful they are,
said Hagrid to Slughorn's back, tears leaking from the corners of his crinkled eyes.
I didn't know you were interested in creatures like Aragog, Horace. Interested? My dear Hagrid. I revere them.
Slughorn, stepping back from the body. Harry saw the glint of a bottle disappear beneath his cloak, though Hagrid, mopping his eyes once more, noticed nothing.
Now, shall we proceed to the burial?
Hagrid nodded and moved forwards. He heaved the gigantic spider into his arms, and with enormous grunt, rolled it into the dark pit. It hit the bottom with a rather horrible crunchy thud. Hagrid started to cry again.
Course, it's difficult for you. You knew him best,
said Slughorn, who, like Harry, could reach no higher than Hagrid's elbow, but patted it all the same.
Why don't I say a few words?
He must have got a lot of good quality venom from Aragog, Harry thought. For Slughorn wore a satisfied smirk as he stepped up to the rim of the pit and said in a slow, impressive voice,
Farewell, Aragog, king of arachnids, whose long and faithful friendship those who knew you won't forget. Though your body will decay, your spirit lingers on in the quiet, web-spun places of your forest home. May your many-eyed descendants ever flourish, and your human friends find solace for the loss they have sustained. That was beautiful,
howled Hagrid, and he collapsed onto the compost heap, crying harder than ever.
There,
said Slughorn. It's kind of nice. Really nice what Slughorn's doing. Very sweet. He's gone up a bit in my books, even though I know he's there for the poison, but this is still very nice. He didn't have to do this. Waving his wand so that the huge pile of earth rose up and then fell, with a muffled sort of crash onto the dead spider, forming a smooth mound.
Let's get inside and have a drink. Get on his other side, Harry. That's it. Up you come, Hagrid. Well done.
That's sweet. He's sweet. They deposited Hagrid in a chair at the table. Fang, who had been skulking in his basket during the burial, now came padding softly across to them and put his heavy head into Harry's lap as usual. Slughorn uncorked one of the bottles of wine he had bought.
I have it. I have it all tested for poison.
He assured Harry, pouring most of the first bottle into one of Hagrid's bucket-sized mugs and handing it to Hagrid.
Had a house elf taste every bottle after what happened to your poor friend Rupert.
Harry saw in his mind's eye the expression on Hermione's face if she ever heard about this abuse of house elves, and decided never to mention it to her. Oh, man.
One for Harry,
said Slughorn, dividing a second bottle between two mugs.
and one for me. Well,
He raised his mug high.
to Aragog.
Aragog,
Aragog.
said Harry and Hagrid together. Both Slughorn and Hagrid drank deeply. Harry, however, with the way ahead illuminated for him by Felix Felicis, knew that he must not drink, so he merely pretended to take a gulp and then set the mug back on the table before him.
I had him from an egg, you know,
said Hagrid morosely.
tiny little thing he was when he hatched, about the size of a Pekingese.
Sweet, said Slughorn.
Used to keep in a cupboard up at the school until, well,
Hagrid's face darkened, and Harry knew why. Tom Riddle had contrived to have Hagrid thrown out of the school, blamed for opening the Chamber of Secrets. Slughorn, however, did not seem to be listening. He was looking up at the ceiling, from which a number of brass pots hung, and also a long, silky skein. Skein? Skein? S-K-E-I-N. Skein. What does that word mean? It's not telling me. Oh no. Of bright white hair.
that's never unicorn hair, Hagrid.
Oh, yeah, said Hagrid indifferently.
Gets pulled out of their tails. They catch it on branches and stuff in the forest, you know. But my dear chap, do you know how much that's worth? I use it for binding on bandages and stuff if a creature gets injured,
said Hagrid, shrugging.
It's dead useful. Very strong, see?
Slughorn took another deep draught from his mug. Draught? 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 I don't know. His eyes moving carefully around the cabin now, looking, Harry knew, for more treasures that he might be able to convert into a plentiful supply of oak-matured mead, crystallized pineapple, and velvet smoking jackets. He refilled Hagrid's mug and his own, and questioned him about the creatures that lived in the forest these days, and how Hagrid was able to look after them all. Hagrid, becoming expansive under the influence of the drink and Slughorn's flattering interest, stopped mopping his eyes and entered happily into a long explanation of bow-truckle husbandry. Bow-truckle husbandry? What's a bow-truckle again? Can somebody remind me? It's draft. Right. A skein is anything wound in or resembling such a coil, a skein of hair. Okay, thank you very much. That's helpful. Draft. Hi, Melcherill. Welcome back. The Felix Felicis gave Harry a little nudge at this point, and he noticed that the supply of drink that Slughorn had brought was running out fast. Harry had not yet managed to bring off the refilling charm without saying the incantation aloud, but the idea that he might not be able to do it tonight was laughable. Indeed, Harry grinned to himself, unnoticed by either Hagrid or Slughorn, now swapping tales of the illegal trade in dragon eggs. He pointed his wand under the table at the emptying bottles, and they immediately began to refill. After an hour or so, Hagrid and Slughorn began making extravagant toasts. To Hogwarts, to Dumbledore, to elf-made wine, and to
Harry Potter,
bellowed Hagrid, slopping some of his 14th bucket of wine down his chin as he drained it.
Yes, indeed,
cried Slughorn a little thickly.
Harry Potter, the chosen boy who, well, something of that sort.
He mumbled and drained his mug too. Not long after this, Hagrid became tearful again and pressed the whole unicorn tail up upon Slughorn, who pocketed it. Ha! I got it! I got it this time! I got it! It did not throw me off this time. I think it's the first time I nailed it in any of these 7 books. Hey, Eric. Welcome. I've seen your comments, so welcome to your first live. It's awesome. I gotted it, said Lois. You pocketed it. I can't, but I got it the first time, so it counted. You pocketed it with cries of,
To friendship, to generosity, to 10 galleons of hair.
and for a while after that, Hagrid and Slughorn were sitting side by side, arms around each other, singing a slow, sad song about a dying wizard called Odo.
There once was a wizard called Odo. He did a lot of amazing deeds. And when he went and fought some giants, they crushed him with their feet. He lay dying for a long, long time, and when he called his relatives, they all gathered around him, and he said it's all relative.
There you go. That's the Odo dying song. All right. And for a while after that, Hagrid and Slughorn... Oh, they already sang it.
Oh, a good die, young,
Muttered Hagrid, slumping low onto the table, a little cross-eyed, while Slughorn continued to warble the refrain. Oh, there's a refrain in there.
Me dad was not aged to go. No.
Oh. Oh, no, I thought this was the refrain. No.
Your dad was no age to go. Nor were your mum and dad. All right.
Great fat tears oozed out of the corners of Hagrid's crinkled eyes again. That's sweet. He grasped Harry's arm and shook it.
Best whiz and witched, best whiz and witched of the age I never knew. Terrible thing. Terrible thing.
Slughorn sang plaintively.
And Odo the hero, they brought him back home to the place that he known as a lad. They laid him to rest with his heart inside out, and his one snapped in two, which was sad.
That's the way to end the song.
Terrible.
Hagrid grunted, and his great shaggy head rolled sideways onto his arms. He fell asleep, snoring deeply.
Sorry,
Said Slughorn with a hiccup.
can't carry a tune to save my life.
Hagrid wasn't talking about your singing, said Harry quietly. He was talking about my mum and dad dying.
Oh,
Said Slughorn, repressing a large belch.
oh, dear. Yes, that was terrible indeed. Oh, terrible. Terrible.
He looked quite at a loss for what to say, and resorted to refilling their mugs.
I don't suppose you remember it, Harry?
He asked awkwardly. No, well, there was only one when they died, said Harry, his eyes on the flame of the candle flickering in Hagrid's heavy snores. I found out pretty much what happened since. My dad died first. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Said Slughorn in a hushed voice. Yeah. Voldemort murdered him and then stepped over his body towards my mum, said Harry. Slughorn gave a great shudder, but he did not seem able to tear his horrified gaze away from Harry's face. He told her to get out of the way, said Harry remorsefully. He told me she needn't have died. He only wanted me. You could have run.
Oh, dear.
Breathed Slughorn.
You could have... She needn't... Oh, that's awful.
Isn't it? Said Harry, in a voice barely more than a whisper. She didn't move. Dad was already dead. She didn't want me to go too. She tried to plead with Voldemort, but he just laughed.
That's enough,
Said Slughorn suddenly, raising a shaking hand.
really, my dear boy. Enough. I'm an old man. Don't need to hear. I don't want to hear.
I forgot, lied Harry, Felix Felicis leading him on. You liked her, didn't you?
Liked her.
Said Slughorn, his eyes brimming with tears once more.
Don't imagine anyone who met her wouldn't have liked her. Oh, very brave. Very funny. It was the most horrible thing.
You won't help her son, said Harry. She gave me her life, but you won't give me a memory. Oh. Oh, wow. Hagrid's rumbling snores filled the cabin. Harry looked steadily into Slughorn's tear-filled eyes. The potion master seemed unable to look away.
Say that,
he whispered.
It isn't a question. If it were to help you, of course. But no purpose can be served.
It can, said Harry clearly. Dumbledore needs information. I need information. This is great. This is different than I thought this would go. He knew he was safe. Felix was telling him that Slughorn would remember nothing of his... of this in the morning. Looking Slughorn straight in the eye, Harry leaned forwards a little. I am the chosen one. I have to kill him. I need that memory. Slughorn turned paler than ever. His shiny forehead gleamed with sweat.
You are the chosen one.
Of course I am, said Harry calmly.
Then, my dear boy, you're asking a great deal. You're asking me, fact, to aid you in your attempt to destroy...
You don't want to get rid of the wizard who killed Lily Evans?
Harry, course I do, but...
You're scared. He'll find out you helped me. Slughorn said nothing. He looked terrified. Be brave like my mother, Professor. Slughorn raised a pudgy hand and pressed his shaking fingers to his mouth. He looked for a moment like an enormously overgrown baby.
I'm not proud.
He whispered through his fingers.
I'm ashamed of what that memory shows. I think I may have done great damage that day.
You'd cancel out anything you did by giving me that memory, said Harry. It would be a very brave and noble thing to do. Hagrid twitched in his sleep and snored on. This is great. What a great scene. It's so beautiful. Slughorn and Harry stared at each other over the guttering candle. There was a long, long silence, but Felix Felicis told Harry not to break it, to wait. Hagrid twitched in it. Thank you, Barbara, for that. Then very slowly, Slughorn put his hand in his pocket and pulled out his wand. He put his other hand inside his cloak and took out a small, empty bottle. Still looking into Harry's eyes, Slughorn touched the tip of his wand to his temple and withdrew it, so that a long silver thread of memory came away too, clinging to the wand tip. Longer and longer the memory stretched until it broke and swung, silvery bright, from the wand. Slughorn lowered it into the bottle where it coiled and then spread, swirling like gas. He corked the bottle with a trembling hand and then passed it across the table to Harry. Thank you very much, Professor.
You're a good boy,
said Professor Slughorn, tears trickling down his fat cheeks into his walrus mustache.
And you've got her eyes. Just don't think too badly of me once you've seen it.
And he too put his head in his arms, gave a deep sigh, fell asleep. That was a fantastic scene. That was such a great scene. It went very differently. You know, I was kind of expecting Harry to kind of manipulate it out of him, but instead of manipulate, Harry was just, again, in a way, Harry has his great times when he shows character. You see his bad side of his character, you see the good side of his character. This was a great one where it's just straight up, I'm going to be honest and direct with you and appeal to your heart instead of manipulating. It's great. It was great. Loved it. Yeah. It was so good. Guilt trip. In a way, a guilt trip, yeah, sure. But no, I think a guilt trip is. Yeah, what's the difference between appealing to someone's heart and guilt tripping them? For me, it's like guilt tripping. It's like I don't really care how you feel. I just want to get what I get, and then I'll appeal to that emotion. But I don't really care about you. But I feel like Harry said enough things where he's like, "Look, this will be good. You'll do a brave and noble thing. This will be good for you too." I think when you appeal to somebody's emotion and still care about their emotions, it's not a guilt trip. It's just appealing to someone's heart. I like it. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. That was a fantastic scene. I wasn't expecting that. Chapter 23. Horcruxes. Here we go. Gonna find out about that memory. Okay. That's great. Harry's for the memory now. Are you in suspense? Yeah. I love it. I love it. Harry could... Okay, good. For some reason, I thought Harry would screw up and not get the memory, and then something would go wrong, but he got it. So that's fantastic. Horcruxes. Harry could feel the Felix Felicis wearing off as he crept back into the castle. The front door had remained unlocked for him, but on the third floor he met Peeves. Gotcha, cock! And only narrowly avoided detection by diving sideways through one of his shortcuts. By the time he got up to the portrait of the fat lady and pulled off the invisibility cloak, he was not surprised to find her in the most unhelpful mood. What sort of time do you call this? I'm really sorry, I had to go out for something important. Well, the password changed at midnight, so you'll just have to sleep in the corridor, won't you? You're joking, said Harry. Why did it have to change at midnight? That's the way it is, said the fat lady. If you're angry, go and take it up with the headmaster. He's the one who tightened security. Fantastic, said Harry bitterly, looking around at the hard floor. Really brilliant. Yeah, I would go and take it up with Dumbledore if he was here, because he's the one who wanted me to. He is, yeah, said a voice behind Harry. Oh, no, it's Nearly Headless Nick. Okay, let's see. I can't hear these voices, so you let me know if this actually works for Nearly Headless Nick.
Yes. Oh, yes, yeah, said a voice behind Harry. Professor Dumbledore returned to the school an hour ago. Nearly Headless Nick was
Nearly Headless Nick was gliding towards Harry, his head wobbling as... Too robotic? Okay, I'll try the other ghost one. There's a couple of different ghost ones. Yeah, I'll find a different one. Nearly Headless Nick was gliding towards Harry, his head wobbling as usual upon his ruff. How about this one? Let's try this voice. I had it from the bloody Baron who saw him arrive, said Nick.
He appeared, according to the Baron, to be in good spirits, though a little down, of course.
That one better? Where is he? Said Harry, his heart leaping. That one is worse? Stop. Everybody hates it. I need to test these. I didn't get time to test them. How about we'll try one more. We'll try one more, okay? I don't know if this one works. Let's try this one out. All right. Where is he? Said Harry, his heart leaping.
Oh, groaning and clanking up on the astronomy tower. It's a favourite pastime of his.
How about that one?
Not the bloody Baron, Dumbledore.
Yes, people like that one. All right, cool. That's the ghost one.
Oh, in his office,
said Nick.
I believe from what the Baron said that he had business to attend to before turning in.
Yeah, he has. Excitement blazing. Oh, wait. Excitement blazing in his chest at the prospect of telling Dumbledore he had secured the memory. He wheeled about and sprinted off again, ignoring the fat lady who was calling after him. Come back! All right, I lied! I was annoyed you woke me up! The password's still tapeworm! I got lucky again. But Harry was hurtling back along the corridor, and within minutes he was saying "Toffee eclairs" to Dumbledore's gargoyle, which leapt aside, permitting Harry entrance onto the spiraled staircase. You sound like you're in a cave. Not bad, but a bit loud. Better, pretty echoey. Turn it down? Yes, I can turn it down, and I will turn it down. I have to play around with all these first, so we'll see I'll find stuff that works. This is just, that was just for fun to experiment around.
Enter,
said Dumbledore. I love that Toffee declares as his password. It's such a great password. Said Dumbledore. When Harry knocked, he sounded exhausted. Harry pushed open the door. There was Dumbledore's office, looking the same as ever, but with black, stars-strewn skies beyond the windows.
Good gracious, Harry,
said Dumbledore in surprise.
To what do I owe this very late pleasure?
Sir, I've got it. I've got the memory from Slughorn. Harry pulled out the tiny glass bottle and showed it to Dumbledore. For a moment or two, the headmaster looked stunned. Then his face splits in a wide smile. Oh, the voice is still on. It's off. It is off. It is off. It is off. Everybody, calm down, everybody.
Harry, this is spectacular news. Very well done indeed. I knew you could do it.
All thought of the lateness... Is it off now? It's off. Okay. All thought of the lateness of the hour apparently forgotten, he hurried around his desk, took the bottle with Slughorn's memory in his uninjured hand, and strode over to the cabinet where he kept the pensieve.
And now,
said Dumbledore, placing the stone basin upon his desk and emptying the contents of the bottle into it.
Now, at last, we shall see. Harry, quickly.
Harry bowed obediently over the pensieve and felt his feet leave the office floor. Once again, he fell through darkness and landed in Horace Slughorn's office many years before. There was the much younger Horace Slughorn, with his thick, shiny, straw-colored hair and his gingery blonde mustache, sitting again in the comfortable winged armchair in his office, his feet resting upon a velvet poof, a small glass of wine in one hand, and the other rummaging in a box of crystallized pineapple. Hey, buddy. Hi. Thanks, sir. And there were the half a dozen teenage boys sitting around Slughorn with Tom Riddle in the midst of them, Marvolo's gold and black ring gleaming on his finger. Dumbledore landed beside Harry just as Riddle asked, Sir, is it true that Professor Merrythorn is retiring?
Tom, if I knew...
As a bit younger.
If I knew, I couldn't tell you,
said Slughorn, wagging his finger reprovingly at Riddle, though winking at the same time.
Must say, I'd like to know where you get your information, boy. More knowledgeable than half the staff, you are.
Riddle smiled. The other boys laughed and cast him admiring looks.
What with your uncanny ability to know things you shouldn't, and your careful flattery of the people who matter. Thank you for the pineapple, by the way. You're quite right. It is my favourite.
Several of the boys tittered again.
I confidently expect you to rise to Minister for Magic within 20 years. 15, if you keep sending me pineapple. I have excellent contacts at the Ministry.
Tom Riddle merely smiled as the others laughed again. Harry noticed that he was by no means the eldest of the group of boys, but they all seemed to look to him as their leader. Like, if you could just finish the book tonight, that would be great. Tom really... but they all seem to look up to him as their leader. I don't know that politics would suit me, sir, he said when the laughter had died away. I don't know. I don't have the right kind of background, for one thing. A couple of the boys around him smirked at each other. Harry was sure they were enjoying a private joke, undoubtedly about what they knew or suspected regarding their gang leader's famous ancestor.
Nonsense, said Slughorn briskly. Couldn't be plainer. You came from descent wizarding stock. Abilities like yours. No, you'll go far, Tom. I've never been wrong. Not a student yet.
The small golden clock standing upon Slughorn's desk chimed 11 o'clock behind him, and he looked round.
Oh, good gracious. Is that time already? You'd better get going, boys, or we'll all be in trouble. Lestrange, I want your essay by tomorrow, or it's detention. Same goes for you, Avery.
One by one, the boys filed out of the room. Slughorn heaved himself out of his armchair and carried his empty glass over to his desk. A movement behind him made him look around. Riddle was still standing there. His face is super close. Riddle was still standing there.
Look sharp, Tom. You don't want to be caught out of bed at out of hours. And you a prefect.
Sir, I wanted to ask you something.
Ask away then, my boy. Ask away.
Sir, I wondered what you know about Horcruxes. Slughorn stared at him, his thick fingers absent-mindedly caressing the stem of his wine glass.
Project for defense against the dark arts, is it?
But Harry could tell that Slughorn knew perfectly well that this was not schoolwork. Not exactly, sir, said Riddle. Came across the term while reading. I didn't fully understand it. Oh, suspense music. Yeah, let's do that.
No, well, you'd be hard pushed to find a book at Hogwarts that'll give you details on Horcruxes, Tom. That's very dark stuff. Very dark indeed. Dark indeed,
said Slughorn. But you obviously know all about them, sir. I mean, a wizard like you. Sorry, I mean, if you can't tell me, obviously. I just knew if anyone could tell me, you could. I just thought I'd ask. It was very well done, thought Harry. The hesitancy, the casual tone, the careful flattery, none of it overdone. He, Harry, had had too much experience of trying to wheedle information out of reluctant people, not to recognize a master at work. He could tell that Riddle wanted the information very, very much. Perhaps he had been working towards this moment for weeks.
Well,
said Slughorn, not looking at Riddle, but fiddling with a ribbon on top of his box of crystallized pineapple.
Well, can't hurt to give you an overview, of course, just so that you understand the term. A Horcrux is the word used for an object in which a person has concealed part of their soul.
A Horcrux is the word used for an object in which a person has concealed part of their soul. Okay. All right. I don't quite understand how that works, though, sir, said Riddle. His voice was carefully controlled, but Harry could sense his excitement.
Well, you split your soul, you say, said Slughorn, and hide part of it in an object outside the body. Then, even if one's body is attacked or destroyed, one cannot die, for part of the soul remains earthbound and undamaged. But of course, existence in such a form.
Slughorn's face crumpled, and Harry found himself remembering words he had heard nearly 2 years before. This is going back to what Voldemort said.
I was ripped from my body. I was less than spirit, less than the meanest ghost, but still, I was alive.
Oh, damn. This is what he's been doing.
Few would want it, Tom. Very few. Death would be preferable.
But Riddle's hunger was now apparent. His expression was greedy. He could no longer hide his longing. How do you split your soul?
Well,
said Slughorn uncomfortably,
you must understand that the soul is supposed to remain intact and whole. Splitting it is an act of violation. It is against nature. How do you do it? By an act of evil, the supreme act of evil. By committing murder. Killing rips the soul apart. The wizard intent upon creating a Horcrux would use the damage to his advantage. He would encase the torn portion.
Okay. You have to kill somebody, that rips your own soul apart, I guess? The wizard intent upon creating Horcrux would use the damage to his advantage. He would encase the torn portion of his heart. Oh, so you have to kill somebody and then pick up part of your torn... Wow, that's crazy. Encase? But how?
There is a spell. Do not ask me. I don't know,
said Slughorn, shaking his head like an old elephant bothered by mosquitoes.
Do I look as though I tried it? Do I look like a killer?
No, sir. Of course not, said Riddle quickly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend.
Not at all. Not at all. Not offended,
said Slughorn gruffly.
It's natural to feel some curiosity about these things. Wizards of a certain caliber have always been drawn to that aspect of magic.
Yes, sir, said Riddle. What I don't understand, though, just out of curiosity, I mean, would one Horcrux be much use? Can you only split your soul once? Wouldn't it be better? Make you stronger? Sorry. Oh, man. Wouldn't it be better, make you stronger, to have your soul in more pieces? I mean, for instance, isn't 7 the most powerfully magical number? Wouldn't 7...
Merlin's beard, Tom,
yelped Slughorn.
7! Isn't it bad enough?
Oh, gosh. I got some weird scratch in my throat. I need a moment to get over this. I'll read some of your comments. John, your voice is helping me keep walking up this insane hill home, so please keep up for my sake. There we go. One more gulp. Okay.
Isn't it bad enough to think of killing one person? And in any case, bad enough to divide the soul, but to rip it into 7 pieces.
7 books? 7 items? Is there a book in each? Is there an item in each book? Is there a certain item in each book? I have to think back. Please don't ruin it for me if yes, but I'm just thinking right now. Well, there's the necklace in this one. Isn't there a chalice? And the ring? He's got the ring? Dumbledore's got the ring? There's some kind of chalice, right? And then there's the necklace. Maybe it's the necklace? What else is there? There has to be 7 items. He split his soul into 7 different parts, and maybe in each book, if you look back, there's an item in there. The hell? Slughorn looked deeply troubled now. He was gazing at Riddle as though he had never seen him plainly before, and Harry could tell that he was regretting entering into the conversation at all.
Of course, he muttered. This is all hypothetical, what we are discussing, isn't it? All academic?
Yes, sir. Of course, said Riddle quickly.
But all the same, Tom, keep it quiet, what I've told. That's to say what we've discussed. People wouldn't like to think we've been chatting about Horcruxes. It's a banned subject at Hogwarts, you know. Dumbledore's particularly fierce about you.
I won't say a word, sir, said Riddle, and he left. But not before Harry had glimpsed his face, which was full of that same wild happiness it had worn when he had first found out that he was a wizard. A sort of happiness that did not enhance his handsome features, but made them, somehow, less human. Yes, the goblet of fire, that's what I meant. Not the chalice.
Thank you, Harry,
said Dumbledore quietly.
Let us go.
When Harry landed back on the office floor, Dumbledore was already sitting down behind his desk. Harry sat too, and waited for Dumbledore to speak.
I have been hoping for this piece of evidence. Very long time,
said Dumbledore at last.
It confirms the theory on which I have been working. It tells me that I am right, and also how very far there is still to go.
Harry suddenly noticed that every single one of the old headmasters and headmistresses in the portraits around the walls was awake and listening in on their conversation. A corpulent, red-nosed wizard had actually taken out an ear trumpet.
Well, Harry,
said Dumbledore,
I am sure you understood the significance of what we just heard. The same age as you are now, give or take a few months, Tom Riddle was doing all he could find out how to make himself immortal.
You think he succeeded then, sir? Asked Harry. He made a Horcrux, and that's why he didn't die when he attacked me? He made a Horcrux hidden somewhere. A bit of his soul is safe.
Bit or more,
said Dumbledore.
You heard Voldemort. What he particularly wanted from Horace was an opinion on what would happen to the wizard who created more than one Horcrux. What would happen to the wizard so determined to evade death that he would be prepared to murder many times, rip his soul repeatedly so as to store it in many separately concealed Horcruxes. No book would have given that information. As far as I know, as far, I am sure, as Voldemort knew, no wizard has ever done more than tear his soul in two.
Okay, I have a thought now. So the Goblet of Fire, when they grabbed it, made them go off, apparate to a different place, and then there was that freakish baby Voldemort slime that suddenly grew up and came to be. So the Goblet of Fire was one of those? He put his soul in the Goblet of Fire and he was reborn because he died before that and he was reborn at that moment. That's what I'm pretty sure is what happened there. That's the Triwizard Cup. Turn into a Portkey. Oh, I thought right. So what could have been an object? I would have to go back and read that. Yeah, okay. Dumbledore paused for a moment, marshalling his thoughts, and then said,
4 years ago, I received what I considered certain proof that Voldemort had split his soul.
Where? Asked Harry.
How? You handed it to me, Harry,
said Dumbledore.
The diary. Riddle's diary. The one giving instructions on how to reopen the Chamber of Secrets.
Don't understand, sir, said Harry. Well, although I did not see the riddle who came out of the diary, what you described to me was a phenomenon I had never witnessed. Wait. Oh, this is weirdly broken up. They didn't break up. Oh, so this is Dumbledore speaking, and they made it seem like Harry speaking. Maybe I'll need to read some chapters behind the cameras. Okay.
Although I did not see the riddle who came out of the diary, what you described to me was a phenomenon I had never witnessed. A mere memory starting to act and think for itself. A mere memory sapping the life out of the girl into whose hands it had fallen. Oh, something much more sinister had lived inside that book. A fragment of soul. I was almost sure of it. The diary had been a Horcrux. But this raised as many questions as it answered. What intrigued and alarmed me most was that diary had been intended as a weapon as much as a safeguard.
I still don't understand, said Harry.
Well, it worked as a Horcrux is supposed to work. In other words, the fragment of soul concealed inside it was kept safe and had undoubtedly played its part in preventing the death of its owner. But there could be no doubt that Riddle really wanted that diary read, wanted the piece of his soul to inhabit or possess something else, so that Slytherin's monster be unleashed again.
Well, he didn't want his hard work to be wasted, said Harry. He wanted people to know he was Slytherin's heir, because he couldn't take credit at the time.
Quite correct,
said Dumbledore, nodding.
Don't you see, Harry, that if he intended the diary to be passed to or planted on some future Hogwarts student who is being remarkably blasé about that precious fragment of his soul concealed within it? The point of a Horcrux is, as Professor Slughorn explained, keep part of the self hidden, safe, not to fling it into somebody else's path and run the risk that they might destroy it, as indeed happened. That particular fragment of soul is no more. You saw to that. The careless way in which Voldemort regarded this Horcrux seemed most ominous to me. It suggested that he must have made, or been planning to make, more Horcruxes, so that the loss of his first would not be so detrimental. I did not wish to believe it, but nothing else seemed to make sense.
Oh, wow. 95 people watching is a record. Yes, we got the most people on here that we've had ever. Pretty cool.
Then you told me, 2 years later, that on the night that Voldemort returned to his body, he made a most illuminating and alarming statement to his Death Eaters. I, who have gone further than anybody along the path that leads to immortality. That was what you told me, he said. Further than anybody. And I thought I knew what that meant, though the Death Eaters did not. He was referring to his Horcruxes. Horcruxes in the plural, Harry, which I did not believe any other wizard has ever had. Yet it fitted. Lord Voldemort had seemed to grow less human with the passing years, and the transformation he had undergone seemed to me to be only explicable if his soul was mutilated beyond the realms of what we might call usual evil.
So he's made himself impossible to kill by murdering other people, said Harry. Why couldn't he make a Philosopher's Stone or steal one if he was so interested in immortality? Can somebody remind me again what the Philosopher's Stone does? It just makes you immortal? Okay, this is all a lot. This is crazy. Okay, so, hey, buddy. Okay, so 2 things. How did they revive Voldemort again? Unless this is a spoiler, please don't say it, but how did they revive him when he was in that pot? And that little slug guy, no, his rat bastard servant helped him. Were they? I'm pretty sure they're using a Horcrux there to revive him. Produces the elixir of life, which will make the drinker immortal. Oh right, okay. Furnishings to gold and the elixir of life. Gotcha. Wormtail made a potion. Blood of the and bone of the father, flesh of the servant. You could use a brew the potion to extend your life, or turn something into gold. It was a dark magic spell that brought him back. So my question is, why don't they always just use a dark magic spell to bring Voldemort back? Why does he need Horcruxes or something like that? I don't know. Why don't they just do it all the time? Do they need anything special? Okay. Hey, buddy, come here. Thanks, come. I don't know. No, doesn't want to. Okay, he's made himself immortal.
Well, we know that he tried to do just that 5 years ago,
said Dumbledore.
But there are several reasons why I think a Philosopher's Stone would appeal less than Horcruxes to Lord Voldemort.
Oh, they didn't bring him back from the dead, just back from having no body. Okay, gotcha.
While the elixir of life does indeed extend life, it must be drunk regularly for all eternity, if the drinker is to maintain his immortality. Therefore, Voldemort would be entirely dependent on the elixir, and if it ran out or was contaminated, or if the stone was stolen, he would die, just like any other man. Voldemort likes to operate alone, remember? I believe that he would have found the thought of being dependent, even on the elixir, intolerable. Of course, he was prepared to drink it if it would take him out of the horrible part life to which he was condemned after attacking you, but only to regain a body. Therefore, I am convinced he intended to continue to rely on his Horcruxes. He would need nothing more. If only he could regain a human form. He was already immortal, you see, or as close to immortal any man can be. Now, Harry, armed with this information, a crucial memory you have succeeded in procuring for us, we are closer to the secret of finishing Lord Voldemort than anyone has ever been. You heard him, Harry. Wouldn't it be better, make you stronger, to have your soul in more pieces? Isn't 7 the most powerfully magical number? Isn't 7 the most powerfully magical number? Yes. I think the idea of a 7-part soul greatly appeal to Lord Voldemort.
He made 7 Horcruxes, said Harry, horror-struck, while several of the portraits on the walls made similar noises of shock and outrage. But they could be anywhere in the world, hidden, buried, or invisible.
I am glad to see you appreciate the magnitude of the problem,
said Dumbledore calmly.
But firstly, no, Harry, not 7 Horcruxes. 6. The 7th part of his soul, however maimed, resides inside his regenerated body. That was the part of him that lived a spectral existence for so many years during his exile. Without that, he has no self at all. That 7th piece of soul will be the last that anyone wishing to kill Voldemort must attack. A piece that lives in his body.
It's music. But the 6 Horcruxes then, said Harry, a little desperately. How are we supposed to find them?
You are forgetting. You've already destroyed one of them. And I have destroyed another.
You have? said Harry eagerly.
Yes, indeed,
said Dumbledore, and he raised his blackened, burned-looking hand.
Oh, the ring, Harry. Marvolo's ring. And a terrible curse that was upon it, too. Had it not been, forgive me for lack for seemly modesty, for my own prodigious skill, and for Professor Snape's timely action when I returned to Hogwarts, desperately injured, I might not have lived to tell the tale. However, a withered hand does not seem an unreasonable exchange for a 7th of Voldemort's soul. The ring is no longer a Horcrux.
So his arm got blasted to smithereens when he destroyed the ring. And Snape helped him. He was close to death, and Snape helped him out. Oh man, this kind of shows that Snape's on the good side. Nathan first. Welcome back, Nathan. Haven't seen you on here in a while. We got 100. We hit 100 people on the stream. Damn, that's a first. No. I mean, we had another when Robbie was on, obviously, but this is the first during a regular reading. We hit 100. Whoop, whoop. First time live, Gina. Welcome, Gina. Welcome. That's awesome. Hey, everybody on the stream. Happy to have you here. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's keep going. But how did you find it?
Well, as you know now, I have made it my business for many years to discover as much as I can about Voldemort's past life. I have traveled widely, visiting those places he once knew. I stumbled across the ring hidden in the ruin of the Gaunt's house. It seems that once Voldemort has succeeded in sealing a piece of his soul inside it. He did not want to wear it anymore. He hid it.
Yeah, one second. I gotta reread that. Some across the ring, hidden in the ruins of Gaunt's house. It seemed that once the Voldemort had succeeded in sealing a piece of his soul inside it, he didn't want to wear it anymore. No, he hid it. Right.
He hid it, protected by many powerful enchantments, in the shack where his ancestors had once lived. Morphin having been carted off to Azkaban, of course. Never guessing that I might one day take the trouble to visit the ruin, or that I might be keeping an eye open. Traces of magical concealment. However, we should not congratulate ourselves too heartily. You destroy the diary, and I the ring. But if we are right in our theory of a 7-part soul, 4 Horcruxes remain.
And they could be anything, said Harry. They could be old tin cans, or I don't know, empty potion bottles?
You are thinking of port keys, Harry, which might be ordinary objects, easy to overlook. But Lord Voldemort used tin cans or old potion bottles to guard his own precious soul. You are forgetting what I've shown you.
Right, he loves his things. He loves his trinkets.
Lord Voldemort liked to collect trophies, and he preferred objects, a powerful magical history. His pride, his belief in his own superiority, his determination to carve for himself a startling place in magical history, these things suggest to me that Voldemort might have chosen his Horcruxes with some care, favoring objects worthy of the honor.
The diary wasn't that special.
The diary, as you have said yourself, was proof that he was the heir of Slytherin. I am sure that Voldemort considered it of stupendous importance.
So, the other Horcruxes, said Harry. Do you think they know what they are, sir?
I can only guess,
said Dumbledore.
The reasons I've already given. I believe that Lord Voldemort...
This music's really intense. It's a lot. This, isn't it? I might go back to the beginning of it where it's less intense. A bit crazy. Oh, it works out, okay.
For the reasons I've already given, I believe that Lord Voldemort would prefer objects that, in themselves, have a certain grandeur. I've therefore trawled back through Voldemort's past to see if I can find evidence that such artifacts have disappeared around you. The locket,
said Harry loudly. Hufflepuff's cup!
Yes.
Oh, okay. The Dumbledore smiling. Oh, that is genius, Dumbledore. Dumbledore's genius. Said Dumbledore smiling.
I would be prepared to bet, perhaps not my other hand, but a couple of fingers, that they became Horcruxes 3 and 4. The remaining 2, assuming again that he created a total of 6, are more of a problem. But I will hazard a guess that, having secured objects from Hufflepuff and Slytherin, he set out to track down objects owned by Gryffindor or Ravenclaw. 4 objects from the 4 founders would, I'm sure, have exerted a powerful pull over Voldemort's imagination. I cannot answer for whether he ever imagined to find anything of Ravenclaw's. I am confident, however, that the only known relic of Gryffindor remains safe.
Okay, whew, this is a lot. A lot to keep track of. Dumbledore pointed his blackened fingers to the wall beside him, where a ruby-encrusted sword reposed within a glass case. Do you think that's why he really wanted to come back to Hogwarts, sir? Said Harry. Huh? Okay, wait, 1 second. He set out to track down objects. 4 objects from the 4 founders would, I'm sure, have exerted a powerful pull over Voldemort's imagination. Okay, I cannot answer for whether he managed to find anything Ravenclaw's. Oh, but he didn't get to the sword. He didn't get to that sword, okay. Do you think that's why he really wanted to come back to Hogwarts, sir? Said Harry. To try and find something from one of the other founders.
My thoughts precisely,
said Dumbledore.
But unfortunately, that does not advance us much further. For he was turned away, so I believe, without the chance to search the school. I am forced to conclude that he never fulfilled his ambition of collecting 4 founders' objects. He definitely had 2. He may have found 3. That is the best we can do for now. Even if he got something of Ravenclaw's or of Gryffindor's, that leaves a 6th Horcrux.
No. Oh, that's Harry, said Harry, counting on his fingers. Unless he got both?
I don't think so,
said Dumbledore.
I think I know what 6th Horcrux is. I wonder what you will say when I confess that I have been curious for a while about the behavior of the snake, Nagini.
The snake? Said Harry, startled. You can use animals as Horcruxes?
Well, it is inadvisable to do so,
said Dumbledore.
Because to confide a part of your soul to something that can think and move for itself is obviously a very risky business. However, if my calculations are correct, Voldemort was still at least 1 Horcrux short of his goal of 6 when he entered your parents' house, with the intention of killing you.
Slughorn was sitting on his memory this whole time. Oh, man.
He seems to have reserved the process.
Voldemort was still at least 1 Horcrux short of his goal of 6 when he entered your parents' house with the intention of killing you. I forget now. I'm sorry. I know this is like the basis of it all. I forget now. Oh, because of the prophecy. Right. That's why he wanted to kill Harry? But wait. Why did Voldemort decide to kill Harry? I know there was a prophecy, but... Oh, because the prophecy said for Voldemort and for Harry, but was this prophecy done before Harry's death? Before Harry's birth? Who sorry, I can forget everything. Who made the prophecy? When did they prophesy this? Yes, he wanted to kill Harry because of the prophecy, but when was the prophecy made and by whom? What point? So he's asking, if you were evil, what would your Horcruxes be? Would you put your soul in Dexter? Yes, absolutely. Evil little Dexter. Running around. Probably put one into my PlayStation or something. It was made by Trelawney before Harry's birth to Dumbledore. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense for me. Okay. So he was assembling his Horcruxes, and then he was like, oh, damn, I gotta go kill this baby, and then I can continue on with my 6th Horcrux.
He seems to have reserved the process of making Horcruxes for particularly significant deaths. You would certainly have been that. He believed that in killing you, he was destroying... he may have found 3. That is the best we can do for now. Even if he got something of Ravenclaw's, or of Gryffindor's.
No, even if he got something of Ravenclaw's, or of Gryffindor's, that leaves a 6th Horcrux, said Harry, counting on it. Oh, okay, sorry. No.
He believed that in killing you, he was destroying the danger the prophecy had outlined. He believed he was making himself invincible. I'm sure that he was intending to make his final Horcrux with your death, as we know.
Yeah, okay, thank you, everybody.
As we know, he failed. After an interval of some years, however, he used Nagini to kill an old Muggle man.
Oh, that was the time!
And it might then have occurred to him to turn her into his last Horcrux. She underlines the Slytherin connection, which enhances Lord Voldemort's mystique. I think he is perhaps as fond of her as he can be of anything. Certainly likes to keep her close, and he seems to have an unusual amount of control over her. even for a parcel mouth.
It goes back to even that beginning of that third book. So, said Harry, the diary's gone, the ring's gone. The cup, the locket, and the snake are still intact. And you think there might be a Horcrux that was once Ravenclaw's or Gryffindor's. Okay, the cup, the locket. Please remind me... The cup and the locket. Please remind me the circumstances of the cup and locket. Where do they come in? Where are they from again? Sorry. There's so much exposition and info here.
An admirably succinct and accurate summary. Yes,
said Dumbledore, bowing his head. Yes, but do it without spoilers, please. No spoiling. Hufflepuff's, maybe Lois? Lois, you write it out for me, please. Because I don't want anything spoiled, and I'm kind of hesitant to read any of the comments. So, my trusty Lois, please write out anything that you're gaining from here. Sorry, I shouldn't have asked that. So I'm not going to read... Sorry, everybody writing comments, I'm not going to read them. I'm going to read Lois's, because I'm a bit paranoid right now. So, are you still looking for them, sir? Is that where you've been going when you've been leaving the school?
Correct,
said Dumbledore.
I have been looking for a very long time. I think, perhaps, I may be close to finding another one. There are hopeful signs.
And if you do, said Harry quickly, can I come with you and help get rid of it? Dumbledore looked at Harry very intently for a moment before saying,
Yes, I think so.
Can? Said Harry, thoroughly taken aback.
Oh, yes,
said Dumbledore, smiling slightly.
I think you have earned that right.
Harry felt his heart lift. It was very... Oh, gosh, this... Okay, there, Lois. In the memories Dumbledore showed Harry, we saw Riddle speak with Hepzibah Smith about a cup. Right, thank you, belonged to Helga Hufflepuff. And a locket that belonged to Slytherin that his mom sold. Right. Thank you, anything. Thank you, everybody. Okay, thank you. Is this music still fitting? Harry felt his heart lift. It was very good not to hear words of caution and protection for once. The headmasters and headmistresses around the wall seemed less impressed by Dumbledore's decision. Harry saw a few of them shaking their heads, and Phineas Nigellus actually snorted. Oh, I know that that I'm going over. I just want to keep going. It doesn't fit, yeah. It just doesn't fit right now. Does Voldemort know when a Horcrux is destroyed, sir? Can he feel it? Harry asked, ignoring the portraits.
A very interesting question, Harry. I believe not. I believe that Voldemort is now so immersed in evil, and these crucial parts of himself have been detached for so long, he does not feel as we do. Perhaps at the point of death, he might be aware of his loss. But he was not aware, for instance, the diary had been destroyed until he forced the truth out of Lucius Malfoy.
Oh.
When Voldemort discovered that the diary had been mutilated and robbed of all its powers, I am told that his anger was terrible to behold.
But I thought he meant Lucius Malfoy to smuggle it into Hogwarts.
Yes, he did, years ago, when he was sure he would be able to create more Horcruxes. But still, Lucius was supposed to wait for Voldemort to say so. He never received it. For Voldemort vanished shortly after giving him the diary. No doubt he thought that Lucius would not dare do anything with the Horcrux other than to guard it carefully. But he was counting too much upon Lucius's fear of a master who had been gone for years and whom Lucius believed dead. Of course, Lucius did not know what the diary really was. I understand that Voldemort had told him the diary would have caused the Chamber of Secrets to reopen, because it was cleverly enchanted. Had Lucius known he held a portion of his master's soul in his hands, he would undoubtedly have treated it with more reverence. Instead, he went ahead and carried out the old plan for his own ends. By planting the diary upon Arthur Weasley's daughter, he hoped to discredit Arthur.
That's so crazy that that object back then was a part of his soul.
He hoped to discredit Arthur, have me thrown out of Hogwarts and get rid of a highly incriminating object. One stroke. Poor Lucius. What with Voldemort's fury about the fact that he threw away the Horcrux for his own gain, and the fiasco at the Ministry last year, I would not be surprised if he is secretly glad to be safe in Azkaban at the moment.
Harry sat in thought for a moment, then asked, something you come to learn about Harry Potter. Every detail matters. Yeah, man oh man. Harry sat in thought for a moment, then asked, so if all of his Horcruxes are destroyed, Voldemort could be killed?
Yes, I think so,
said Dumbledore.
Without his Horcruxes, Voldemort will be a mortal man with a maimed and diminished soul. Never forget, though, that while his soul may be damaged beyond repair, his brain and his magical power remain intact. It will take uncommon skill and power to kill a wizard like Voldemort, even without his Horcruxes.
But I haven't got uncommon skill and power, said Harry, before he could stop himself.
Yes, you have,
said Dumbledore firmly.
You have a power that Voldemort has never had. You can...
I know, said Harry impatiently. I can love. It was only with a difficulty that he stopped himself adding, big deal. I don't know why that's a funny reaction.
Yes, Harry, you can love,
said Dumbledore, who looked as though he knew perfectly well what Harry had just refrained from saying. That's why we can read again and again the saga, because when we know the story, there are always many details we can understand differently. Oh, I can see that now. I can see that now. It's so cool. It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, yes, you can love.
Which, given everything that has happened to you, is a great and remarkable thing. You're still too young to understand how unusual you are, Harry.
So, when the prophecy says that I'll have power the Dark Lord knows not, just means love? Asked Harry, feeling a little let down.
Yes, just love,
said Dumbledore.
But Harry, never forget that what the prophecy says is only significant because Voldemort made it so. I told you this at the end of last year. Voldemort singled you out as the person who would be most dangerous to him, and in doing so, he made you the person who would be the most dangerous to him.
There we go. It's that self-fulfilling prophecy we talked about. But it comes to the same...
No, it doesn't,
said Dumbledore, sounding impatient now, pointing at Harry with his black, withered hand. You said,
You are setting too much store by the prophecy.
But, spluttered Harry, but you said the prophecy means...
If Voldemort had never heard of the prophecy, would it have been fulfilled? Would it have meant anything? Of course not. Do you think every prophecy in the Hall of Prophecy has been fulfilled?
But, said Harry, bewildered, but last year you said one of us would have to kill the other.
Harry, only because Voldemort made a grave error and acted on Professor Trelawney's words. If Voldemort had never murdered your father, would he have imparted you in a furious desire for revenge? Of course not. If he had not forced your mother to die for you, would he have given you a magical protection he could not penetrate? Of course not, Harry. Don't you see? Voldemort himself created his worst enemy, just as tyrants everywhere do. Have you any idea how much tyrants fear the people they oppress? All of them realize that one day, amongst their many victims, there is sure to be one who rises against them and strikes back.
Wow, this is great stuff. This is great stuff. Oh, what? Those are awesome sentences.
Voldemort is no different. Always he was on the lookout for the one who would challenge him. He heard the prophecy and he leapt into action. The result that he not only handpicked the man most likely to finish him, he handed him uniquely deadly weapons. But it is essential that you understand this,
said Dumbledore, standing up and striding about the room, his glittering robe swooshing in his wake. Harry had never seen him so agitated. Oh, wow, this means a lot.
By attempting to kill you, Voldemort himself singled out the remarkable person who sits here in front of me and gave him the tools for the job. It is Voldemort's fault that you were able to see into his thoughts, his ambitions, that you even understand the snake-like language in which he gives orders. And yet, Harry, despite your privileged insight to Voldemort's world, which, incidentally, is a gift any Death Eater would kill to have, you have never been seduced by the dark arts. Never even never even for a second shown the slightest desire to become one of Voldemort's followers.
Of course I haven't, said Harry indignantly. He killed my mum and dad. Oh, wow. This is a lot. Ooh, I just need a short drink.
You are protected, in short. You are protected, in short, by your ability to love,
said Dumbledore loudly.
The only protection that can possibly work against the lure of power like Voldemort's. In spite of all the temptation you have endured, all the suffering, you remain pure of heart, just as pure as you were at the age of 11, when you stared into a mirror that reflected your heart's desire, and it showed you only the way to thwart Lord Voldemort, and not immortality or riches. Harry, have you any idea how few wizards could have seen what you saw in that mirror? Voldemort should have known then what he was dealing with, but he did not. But he knows it now. You have flitted into Lord Voldemort's mind without damage to yourself. But he cannot possess you without enduring mortal agony, as he discovered the Ministry. I do not think he understands why, Harry. But he was in such a hurry to mutilate his own soul, he never paused to underestimate the incomparable power of a soul that is untarnished and whole.
This is a lot. This is a lot. He's just basically saying, you are the purest being on earth, Harry. And Harry's like, huh? But sir, said Harry, making valiant efforts not to sound argumentative, it all comes down to the same thing, doesn't it? I've got to try and kill him, or...
Got to,
said Dumbledore.
Of course you've got to, but not because of the prophecy. Because you, yourself, will never rest until you've tried. We both know it. Imagine, please, just for a moment, that you had never heard that prophecy. How would you feel about Voldemort now? Think!
Harry watched Dumbledore striding up and down in front of him and thought. He thought of his mother, his father, and Sirius. Thought of Cedric Diggory. He thought of all the terrible deeds he knew Lord Voldemort had done. A flame seemed to leap inside his chest, searing his throat. Oh, man. Okay, so I think that's... Is that why they had those lessons with Snape? For Harry not to, as a teenager particularly, to lean into like that, the anger and hate part of himself. To quell that, because they were fearing maybe he could go the route of Voldemort. I'd want him finished, said Harry quietly. And I'd want to do it.
Of course you would,
cried Dumbledore.
You see, the prophecy does not mean you have to do anything. But the prophecy caused Lord Voldemort to mark you as his equal. In other words, you are free to choose your way, quite free to turn your back on the prophecy. But Voldemort continues to set store by the prophecy. He will continue to haunt you, which makes it certainly, really, that
one of us is going to end up killing the other, said Harry. Yes. But he understood at last what Dumbledore had been trying to tell him. It was, he thought, the difference between being dragged into the arena to face a battle to the death and walking into the arena with your head held high. Huh. That's really good. That's a really good sentence. Really good thought. Some people, perhaps, would say that there was little to choose between the two ways, but Dumbledore knew, and so do I, thought Harry, with a rush of fierce pride, and so did my parents, that there was all the difference in the world. End of chapter. Wow. What a chapter. What 2 chapters. What are 2 chapters. Crazy. Oh, man. Way to go, John. Great read. May I suggest getting a notepad to write down the potential Horcrux object stuff down. It'll be important moving forward. Yeah, maybe. Maybe I should. Maybe I'll do that at the beginning of next read, just so I get everything down that was said. Hey, buddy. Come here. Come here, bud. Come. 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 There he is. He's joined me for the end. He's joined me for the end. 2 chapters in a row. Thanks for the long read, John. You're welcome, Mark. Much love to you, buddy. Keep it going. I will listen to this live again. Thanks for reading more than usual. Well, I had to. Okay, I think it's all pretty clear to me. Thanks, Dexter. I think it's all pretty clear to me. The 6th Horcrux is the snake. He has the cup, the trinket, the diary has been destroyed. Dumbledore destroyed the ring. That's cup, trinket, snake. And the 6th Horcrux was what again? What was the 6th Horcrux, or do we not know yet? I think John needs a long talk with Lois. It was a good trip. Thanks, John. Your read was amazing. Thank you. John, do you ever go back and reread the chapters? No, I haven't. Haven't yet. Dexter's Horcrux would be John's nose. All right, everybody. That was a fun read. I will be back tomorrow again at 6 o'clock for even more, for chapter 24, Sectum Sempra, whatever that is. Diary cup, locket, snake, ring. That's all we know so far. Okay, so we got one more. Oh yeah, and one thing I forget. When you log on to the live, press a like button, because that gets more people. It shows up in more people's feeds and stuff like that. And, you know, if you can like the video and all that kind of stuff, you know, all that jazz, all that YouTube stuff. But that'd be very very nice. So tomorrow we're doing Sectum Sempra. Oh man, this is great. That was such a great chapter. And some of this walking into an arena with your head held high rather than being dragged in. That's such a great concept. I really like that. And he just keeps I liked Dumbledore just being so, like, don't you understand? You really have to get this, that it's your capability of loving that will destroy him. Which, I don't know what that's going to look like. No idea. No idea what that's going to look like. But he's just so adamant about it. You have to get this. And it's that the prophecy doesn't control you. It's to like kind of let go of that thing in his mind about that I'm being forced into killing him. It's like, no, it has to be a drive from inside. It has to be an inside drive, and that inside drive has to be love versus an outside force, which is like intimidating him into killing him. Yeah, it's really good. The likes just jumped from 50 to 41. Oh, and by the way, not this video. You don't have to like the lives, because this thing we had at the live and I upload it. So actually no, at the beginning of the lives that's very helpful, and then liking the actual video that I upload. They're two different files basically, but likes on both would be very friendly and nice. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody, we're back tomorrow. I'm excited to hear more about where this all goes. Oof, what a ride! What a great ride! Getting to the end of the book, probably. I don't know. That's a great thing about. I kind of like this. I kind of like it about the Kindle, where I can look at what percentage I'm at, but I kind of not like not knowing where the ending is, because the stories always go. They have these like really intense bits, and then fun and jovial bits, and adventure, and then intense bits, and so on. That's what usually happens throughout the books. And so when I'm getting to the end of the book, I'm like, oh, okay, no, so something intense is going to happen. Versus here, I can't see, unless I put the percentage on, which I don't want to do. I can see, I can't see what's coming, so it's always kind of surprising, like, oh, crap, we're in the middle of like this crazy bit. And it might be the end, I don't know, which I kind of like more. It's been really hard to express my excitement that this chapter is coming. Yeah. All right. Okay. I will see you all tomorrow. Oh wait. I need to do one of the up next. Okay, great. Will Harry find the remaining Horcruxes? Will Voldemort tell him? Will Dumbledore help him? Find out next time on Conks